Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I have here Mr. Dean S. Brown, who is a holistic healer. And I'm very, very interested in this topic because he works a lot with the mental aspect of it. And before we got the show started, we got to talking and found out that we had so much in common. One, we both seem to have suffered from depression. And I'll be honest with you, I have suffered from suicidal thoughts, actually attempted several times, and very blessed to be here to enjoy my family. And I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let Mr. Brown tell us about himself, and we're going to get into what he does. So the floor is yours, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle, from Kyle, Texas, just off of Kyle Parkway. I
That's
love
right.
that trifecta. You shared that with me earlier, and I was floored by the whole fact of that. It's meant to be, as you said.
Hey, they love me so much they named the town after me.
There you go.
I even got my own parkway. So
There you go. Right. So you gotta love it. I always enjoy when I go past Dean Hill or Dean Street because that just makes you realize, hey, wait a second, my name means something more than just who I am. But anyways, you want me to talk about who I am, and that's a good segue
yes.
into that. Come from a small town in northern Ontario, 400 people, and
Wow.
yeah, small town, surrounded by a couple of native Indian reserves. My dad was the mayor. He was also not only the mayor, but he was the owner of the largest business and the secretary for the Lions Club, which is a service club. And he loaned more money than the local bank did, so he was a big wig in the town, and it was a hard thing to live up to. Not only that, but he was a World War II fighter pilot veteran. So it was one of those things where I just, it was amazing to have to try to live up to that. And here's one of the most direct examples of how powerful my dad was and how influential he was for me. So I was about 11 years old, and I was on my way home from school, and I got accosted, if you want to call it that, by three native boys, and they beat me pretty soundly. And I went home crying, a little bloodied, to tell my dad that I just got beat up by three native boys. And you won't believe this, but my father beat me because there was only three. That's the mental state that I was forced to live up to. That turned me into a warrior. It turned me into a person that was very, very aggressive, very manipulative, very quick-tempered, and it cost me a lot. I didn't realize the damage it caused me as I grew up, as I became, a young adult. I fought street fighting, drugs, crime. It was, the police all everywhere I went, the police knew who I was and what I was doing and so on and so forth. And it was a tough way to start your life. And as I grew up, I was always successful, even when I got out of the drugs and the crime. Well, I didn't get out of the drugs right away, but I got out of the crime fairly quickly because I knew it was a dead end street. I actually got out of a group that was planning a robbery of a local jeweler, and I knew that they were going to get busted. And I tried to talk them out of it. And the only way for me to stay out of the whole situation and not end up with a totally bad name everywhere in town was to leave town. And yes, they got busted, and some of them are still in prison. And that's a sad thing. But this is how we live, learn, and grow, my friend.
Yes.
And it became an awareness for me that as much as I was who I wasn't complete. And that became more evident as I ended up getting married, having children, trying to build a life, proper life. And yet in 2008, when that global collapse came from the housing industry in the States, I lost $120,000 a year job. In the 20 years that I was there, I had learned how to become a leader on the machinery that I ran on a big commercial printing press. I was on the negotiating committee. I was on the health and safety committee. I was a fire warden, all kinds of stuff. But I had to be manipulative and aggressive to get there.
Yeah.
And I was never happy with the end result. And people actually resented me more than appreciated me because of that. And it was something I was aware of, but didn't know how to do anything about. And that led me to where you mentioned earlier, where we were talking and suicide came up. And yeah, I've tried that too. And it was one of those things where, for me, I wasn't in Canada. We don't necessarily have, easy reach to firearms, so it was car exhaust that was the one for me. And someone saw. I thought I was out of the way; no one would see me. But someone noticed that I had a hose from my exhaust into my window, and they came down to say, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And I just, flipped them the bird and said, "Go away. I don't want to be here anymore." But they wouldn't accept that, and they called 911. And that one person saved me from my first attempt. And I ended up, in the incarcerated in a mental institute for quite some time until they felt that I wouldn't try again. And sure enough, I had lied to them. I was going to try again, right?
Yeah. Been
And
there.
yeah, and so I did try again. But this time I wanted to reassure my children, because many people in my family had been successful at suicide, and I didn't really want to leave that stigma with my kids, thinking that it was their fault. So I tried to connect with my kids before I went, not actually telling them that I was going to go kill myself, but just saying that I was going to be gone and likely not coming back. One of my children couldn't be there for me to say goodbye to, and that's the one person that saved my life again. And the universe kept putting it more personal, more personal. One person each time. The first was a stranger. The second one was one of my own children. And that daughter knows that today, and she and I are tight. We're very, very tight.
That's awesome.
She knows she saved my life, and she's thankful that she saved her dad's life. And she's an amazing girl right now, working on starting her own business, and just bought her own car. She's 18, and she's done a whole bunch of stuff for herself, by herself, and totally against the grain for what most other kids her age would be doing at this time. And to have that influence, to have that awareness that we can change someone else's life just by working on changing our own, is what inspired me to get so deep into who I needed to be rather than who I thought I should be. And previous to that, it was all the external, thinking other people are going to be the, what they think, what they feel, what's so-and-so going to say, all that stuff. What used to be what drove me, as well as that aggression, because I had always avoided who I really was and fought really hard to be what I thought other people thought I should be. There's no peace in that, my friend. There's no finding love in that. There's no joy in that. It's just hell after hell after hell. And I finally came to the place where I was able to actually connect with my spiritual self. And that was a battle, because I had suppressed it for so long. When I was 3, just to kind of skip back to my younger years, my mother had been sent to an institute for alcoholism. She was institutionalized because she was, my dad owned a hotel, and she was the mayor's wife, so she could have as much alcohol as she wanted, right from the case of it, as much as she wanted. And she drank every day with me in her room. I'm amazed that I don't have fetal alcohol syndrome. That's another signal from the universe, my friend. I have something to do. I have people to help. That's why I'm here talking to you right now. The law of attraction brought us together. We realized that we're brothers from another mother. We've been through so many similar things. And the whole idea is to be the person that is the most authentic to yourself. Be your real self. Don't try to hide who you are, because there's no peace, there's no joy. And not only that, but no one else can relate to you. Now, we mentioned how we talked about some of your previous guests on your show, and how, you tried to ask questions of a more personal nature, to get down to who the person is rather than what they do. That is the most powerful thing, not only to admit for yourself, to accept for yourself, to agree to become for yourself, but to help other people realize. And then you mentioned, as a holistic healer, that is the mindset approach that I take. Who are you? Not who do other people think you are, but who are you? And if you're not sure, I can help you get there. And that's the power, that's the beauty of being human. We can change. We can choose to be better. We can choose to take that crap that we've been through, that we thought was the right thing, and we can change it for what we realize is something better. And I've been going through that with many of my clients in the last little while as a life coach. I've noticed a very, very strong trend since 2020, and that's a lot of people say, I can't, or I won't, or just this totally hold myself back mindset, where they don't realize the power they have. And it's been enforced on them by the external, by those restrictions, the COVID lockdowns, all these different things that have changed everybody's lives right around the world. And I work with professional dads, And I invite the women that support them into the group as well, because we need that support. As dads, as
Yes.
professional men, we can't do it alone. And
No.
we've been told for years, decades, centuries, that you got to be tough, you got to hold back your emotions, you got to be the man. Dad would go away to war and leave his 8-year-old, and you're the man now, right? What in the world are you doing to the men in this world when you do that to them, right? And that
Hmm.
happened to me, I'm sure that it happened to you too, Kyle. And the amazing thing is that it's not right, it's not necessary, and we can change it.
Yeah, it's been something I've struggled with for forever. You know, I got stuck in and I say stuck in a job that I mean, I there was times that I enjoyed it. There was the aspects of it that I really liked, but it was what was expected of me and not what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
And it's taken me. I mean, I retired from the city, and I spent over 20 years working for the city, and but that's not what I wanted. And here I am 50 years old, and I'm just now discovering the things that I really want to do in life.
beautiful, beautiful.
And even though I still have people in the family saying you need to go get this kind of job and you need to go do this and go do that, you know what, I'm retired. I want to go back to work, but I want to do what I want to do now. It's my time.
That's right. That's right. And
So
when we
um
get to that, it's important that we get to that somewhere along the line. So what if it's 50,
right,
right?
right. Well, you know, the analogy that comes to mind is, you know, when you have a drink, it's either hot or it's cold. And when you have something that's lukewarm, it's not so enjoyable. Well, I'm kind of in that lukewarm phase of my life. Is I know what I want to do, but I'm not sure how to get there, and I still need that positive push to get me there. So another reason why I'm glad you're on the show. This was not a coincidence.
Not at all. Not at all, brother, because that push is what I teach, because I was able to do it for myself. For me, it took that awareness that my daughter saved me. That means I have something to do. I am worthy. I can do this. And it was the opposite, total opposite of what I had told myself for years before that, because I was always angry. Like, why in the world can I not be happy? But I was trying to be happy based on the external, with
Mm-hmm.
totally being ignorant that it all comes from the inside. And once
Yeah.
I grasped that awareness, once I realized that my happiness comes from being at one with myself and choosing to be at one with myself, regardless of what goes on the outside, that's the key, the foundation, the true happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I love the simple fact that it's that simple. I used to think it was unfathomable. I couldn't do it. There was no way to do it. When I was able to come to that place for myself, it was like my head. I did the Linda Blair in The Exorcist. My head like right around. I was like, what?
Right. You know, when I meet people that are similar to myself, one of the things that we struggle with is, you know, getting to that point feeling like we're worthy. I still struggle with that. Like I just don't deserve the good things in life, and I don't understand why I'm wired that way, but I want to change that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when somebody comes to you and they're in that state of mind, how do you make them feel like they're worth it? They're worthy.
There's some irony in your question just now. I spoke of that last night in my Go Live in my group. It's a matter of, it starts out with being cognitive dissonance. So you've for years, decades, whatever, you've always told yourself you can't, I won't, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough. And the thing is that very simple act of saying that is the key. The catch is that you're saying it from the opposite direction.
Hmm.
You're not saying it from a positive perspective, you're saying it from a negative perspective. So awareness and choice are the two things that we're born with, my friend. Those are the two things we need to learn to embrace. Now, a lot of people don't go through their day paying attention to what they're thinking, what they're saying to themselves, how they're feeling. And that is the first step to getting this to a big change. The first step is to choose to say, hey, I'm going to start paying attention to what I'm thinking, what I'm telling myself. Now, when you do that, the best first step is to take a few moments on your own, away from everybody else, away from the, like, turn off the news, turn
Yeah,
off the
that
outside world, right?
exactly.
Right?
I
Sit
don't
down
watch
with
the
a piece
news
of,
anymore.
there you go. Good wise call right there, my friend. Sit down with a piece of paper or whatever you like to take a note on, a Word document, your notes on your phone, whatever it is, and choose the top three things, the negative three things you tell yourself on a regular basis. Generally going to be, I can't do such and such. I'm not good enough to do such and such, or I'm afraid of doing such and such, something along those lines. Write those three things down. Be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Look at those things and say, yeah, that's what I tell myself. As a matter of fact, if you want to prove it, go for another day of beating yourself up and just confirm with that. Now that you've chosen to be attentive to what you think, keep that list in mind and say, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
You've just set yourself a habit of being in attention to what you think. Now, go to that list and write down beside or above or below each of those three things the opposite thing, the powerful thing, the positive thing that is the way you want to be, not the way you are from those three statements. And choose to go through your following days, your following moments. Everything is a moment by moment thing. You can't do anything in the past. You can't do anything in the future. You can do anything in the moment.
Mhm.
So be aware of who you are. Be aware of those negative thoughts you have. And each time you have them, remember, oh, wait a second. That's my opportunity to take the same habit structure and change it into a new habit. Now I'm going to take that negative thing and I'm going to say the opposite positive thing that I have chosen to be the best thing for myself. Because previous to that, you had chosen for it to be the worst thing for yourself.
Right.
Now it's time to choose it for it to be the best thing for yourself. And each time you have that thought, choose to flip it over to that positive thing. Now, you've done it. You've just started to change who you are.
Another thing I've noticed is a lot of times, even when we're trying to be positive, we say things in a negative way.
Yep.
Um, let's take for example that you're not doing so well financially, and you say, I don't want to be poor anymore. That's the negative aspect of it,
Yeah,
instead of saying I'm rich.
precisely.
I've got everything that I need, and I'll have everything that I need in the future.
Yep.
But we
100%.
say, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be strapped all the time. You're still pumping negative.
That's right. That's right. Now I'm gonna slip over to the law of attraction before I finish this first little bit of the lesson that you asked me to share. The law of attraction is exactly what you're talking about. The law of attraction is a vibrational synergy thing. The universe, quantum field, is nothing but pure love. It's the most powerful vibration that permeates the entire universe, all existence. It's waiting for you to be aligned to that. But it doesn't care what your alignment is because it loves you. It doesn't judge, it doesn't punish, it just gives you what you ask for.
Mhm.
And when you go along that line that you mentioned, I don't want to be poor anymore. The law of attraction doesn't hear the negative. It just hears you say, I want to be poor. Because that's the feeling you have. You're in alignment with the sensation of being poor. So it gives you more of being poor, right? You hit
Exactly.
the nail on the head when you said, switch that around and say, I am rich. I am happy to be wealthy. And you can be. There's more, there's so much abundance out there. There's more than you can spend in many lifetimes out there available for you to have for everybody, not just for you and me. So to fall back on those three things, remember I said, now you've just started to change who you are, but you right away went into that cognitive dissonance thing that I mentioned, where you still are in the habit of being negative with yourself.
Hmm.
You're telling yourself to be positive, but you're in the habit of being negative. This is our opportunity to change that. This is where the attention span, the awareness part of who we are fundamentally as beings comes into play. This is where you get to say, yeah, I realize that I'm thinking the wrong thing. I need to think the opposite and actually call out that thought, that feeling, because what you think determines what you feel, right?
Yeah,
If you're thinking negative, you're going to feel negative. The universe picks up on that and it gives you more. That's the
exactly.
key. That's the key right there. A lot of people don't understand that all they have to do is flip that coin over, look at the other side of the snake, and find out that, wait a second, the positive is a simple choice away. It's a simple thought away. And with that simple thought comes the following emotional feeling. Your vibration changes. It goes from low negative to high positive. Now the universe is saying, hey, look who just showed up. And you get to be in a place where the universe is more than happy to deliver abundance, and it will.
Oh yeah.
But it takes time. How long did you spend in those negative thoughts, my friend? How many years?
There's a lot of rearranging and changing, because you look at nearly 50 years of
Right.
negative. That's not going to happen overnight.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I've noticed also with the law of attraction is to already think of yourself as whatever it is that you want to be. If you want to be a rich person, act like you are.
That's right.
Try
That's
to, I'm not saying go out and,
spend money you don't have.
spend money you don't have, and, buy $1,000 pants and $2,000 shirt and, $1,000 shoes, but try to look like you're successful, and
Feel.
feel like you are, act like you are. And
That's
before you know it, you've attracted those things.
that's right.
I don't
That's the
care
next
how
step.
silly it sounds.
It's truth.
That's how you get what you want.
And the truth of it is, you just hit the next nail on the head, my brother. When you said, get out there and be what you want to be, what you've done is you've created proof that you can. Hold on to that proof. Repeat that proof, because it's the opposite of what you've been saying for the last 50 years, as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can do it. You just did it. How much more difficult is it to do it again? Just keep doing that positive thing. Now you're using the same principles that you've always used. You're just applying it to a more positive approach, a more positive result, a more positive thing that you actually truly want.
Exactly.
So just do it. You already know how. You already know how to do it wrong. So now it's time to do it right. And
Yeah.
that's what I teach.
Get out of the insanity. The
Right?
insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Right? So now you can use the same principles, because that's the way the law works. The law based on principles, all of them. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't study gravity. They just keep falling off of things. So study the law of attraction and understand how it works and practice it. So my culture is ask, believe to receive to achieve. So ask for it, believe it by proving it, keep proving it by learning how to receive it, and guess what? Achievement follows. And there you have
Mhm.
it, right? And that's what I teach. That's my culture. I work with professional dads, like I mentioned, as you would be yourself, and it's oversimplified what I've just gone through, because there's a lot more to it. But that's the part that gives you the encouragement to realize you can do, right? And
Right.
I saw the look on your face as I was going through. It's going, yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that.
Well, and you don't want to give away too much right now. You want people to come to you and learn. So,
That's okay. I don't mind giving it away, because guess what? The value is there. The the
right,
depth
right,
the depth comes with choosing to come to me for help, or anybody that you might feel in line with, because I can be a little harsh. My program is set that I don't give you the next homework until you've completed the one before it,
right.
because you can't skip things in life that are proper lessons and get to that next level. You can't skip levels, right? One of the things that I teach is the universe gives you the challenge you're now facing, and it keeps giving it to you until you learn to say, wait a second, there's a lesson in here. What is the lesson? Right? That's why you and I will never try suicide again, because we came past that lesson. We know better
Yeah,
now, right?
exactly.
But how many times did we have to try it before we came to that realization, right? Both of us more than once.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the whole thing is, this is the way everybody lives their lives. They all get to that place where I got to do this again. I hate that. Well, that's the universe giving you the opportunity to learn the lesson. When you learn that lesson, you'll now be capable of getting to the next level. And like you mentioned, insanity, right? Einstein
Mhm.
said, you can't solve the problem with the same mindset that you created it with.
Exactly.
You got to get to the next level in order to understand what you're doing wrong in order to correct it. And I'm more than happy to give all kinds of value here because there's no way in an hour I can give it all.
Right, right. Well, a buddy of mine was giving me some advice. He's an architect, and he was giving away the plans and drawings for free.
Yeah,
And I thought, why would you go through all that work and just give it away? Well, what ended up happening is, he got on a website and he offered out the plans, the drawings, everything. He just gave it away. And what it happened was somebody saw this and ended up giving him a big job where he got paid big money. And so sometimes you have to give things like that away in order to get what you want out of it. I
that's right.
mean, I
That's right.
don't want to sound greedy, but I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, and again, you hit the nail, another nail right on the head again, because that's the way the law of attraction works, my friend. You need to broadcast your value. You need to give away your worth to prove that you have it, because no one's going to believe you. The universe is only going to wait for you to commit confidently to yourself by giving it to other people, right? What good
Mm-hmm.
is a lesson if you don't share it?
Right.
The lesson is good for you. Why isn't it good for everybody else? Right? Give it out there, man. Help people come to that next level. It's not about money, my friend. It's about helping other people get to the next level.
That's where you get rich, is when you help other people, when you
That's right.
see others succeed and you are a part of that.
That's right.
So,
Powerful, my friend. Powerful. And that's the whole key right there. See, everything is so simple, so subtle, but we get stuck in the negative mindset that doesn't allow us to see it. That's the ego with fear,
yes.
right? The ego is full of fear. It says, don't do this, don't do that. It'll hurt. It'll be work. It'll be uncomfortable. But the catch is that all work is uncomfortable. All
Yeah,
growth is uncomfortable. If you're in the comfort zone, there's no growth. You,
exactly.
you
That's
want
another
growth, you
thing.
got to get into the uncomfortable zone, right?
Exactly.
And that's the power. That's the subtle power of the truth. The truth is always right staring us in the face. We just have to get uncomfortable with what it means about who we are and how we're practicing it to realize, wait a second, I've got this backwards.
Oh, that builds confidence. When you've
Right.
accomplished something that is difficult, you're like, look what I did.
Dang.
I could do something else. I could
Right.
do something, even more difficult. I could take this on.
That's
So
right.
yeah, being
That's right.
uncomfortable is one of the best positions you can be.
That's right. And that's where that proof comes in. Remember those three things? And I said, now just know the three things, identify the three positive aspects of those three things,
Hmm.
follow that advice that you just gave yourself, do something, and then realize, wait a second, dang, I can do this. And that's the proof you need. You just need to understand, wait a second, I can do this. I am good enough. I am strong enough. And keep building on that. And you will change your life. And not only that, but the people that watch you, if you think you're doing this and no one's watching, you're so wrong, right? There's so many people. I mean, if you're posting on social media, you don't know everybody that's watching you,
That's right.
right? You can't know everybody that's watching you until they speak up and say, hey man, I've been watching you and I want to know more. That's
Exactly.
when you'll know that. And only that one person. There's still all kinds of that you don't know about. And this is the principle that we tend to ignore about ourselves, about our lives. When you had that job with the city, people were watching, right?
Hmm.
You just don't know who. You don't know what they're seeing. So you want to make sure that you're giving your best, you're providing value, and you're proving it to yourself so that you keep doing it.
Oh yeah.
And that'll
Well,
change.
you look at the fact that we're talking right now. I got an email out of the blue, and I was trying to fill in my schedule for the week, and kept saying I need people to be on this show. Going to figure out how to get folks on the show. So I get an email. It's I guess this person represents you and said, hey, we like what's on your content and we want to schedule a couple people to be on your show. I'm like, there it is. The blessings have already come down from the sky. And so I'm very thankful that this person reached out to me, and that we're talking right now.
There you go. And that's exactly how it works, my friend. And this is, you know, a lot of people won't even take that step. They won't get off the couch. They won't get out of their own negative way. I mean, most people are their own biggest obstacles,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you come to realize that you're your own biggest obstacle, that's when you start changing how you are the obstacle, and not being the obstacle, but being the impetus that gets you to that next level. You got to choose,
Yeah.
right? It's always a choice anyways, but what are you choosing? Are you choosing to be positive? Are you choosing to be negative? Are you choosing to hold yourself back? Are you choosing to tell other people they're no good, right? Because if you're doing that, if you're telling, like, if you're one of these negative people that says, oh, you'll never succeed, well, guess what? You're wrong, not only for that other person, but for yourself, because you were telling yourself that first before you had the nerve to open your mouth and share it with someone else.
Right. Well, we talked about being uncomfortable. When I send out emails to people, you know, the worst thing that can happen is they're going to say no.
That's it. That's it.
And sometimes it feels kind of foolish when you write these emails to people and try to invite them on, but you'll never know unless you try.
That's right.
So I've been fortunate enough that I've had some people that they have some fame to their name, and there's people out there that just are successful, that they're entrepreneurs, or they're
100%.
doing like you, into holistic medicine. I've had shamans on the show,
Nice.
you know
Nice.
different folks like this that I tried, and I
And
was
that's all you
fortunate
need
enough
to
to
do.
get the yes.
That's the law of attraction again, my brother. The whole thing is that you put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you don't put it out there for the law of attraction to feel, to notice, to broadcast, it can't resonate. It can't bring it back to you.
Yeah.
You've got to put it out there. You've got to be the next level. And
You got
that's
to keep trying.
that's right. You can't stop, because as soon as you stop living. Nobody's ever won a race by stopping.
Exactly. You
Not a single soul. Every victor has had to keep going in order to, they don't necessarily have to be the first one across the finish line, but you don't win if you don't get across the finish line. You
That's
can't,
right.
right? So that's one of the things that you just proved. You put it out there, do it, and
Yeah.
actually desire for it to happen, because that's what the field, the quantum field, the law of attraction is waiting for you to feel it. Because we broadcast energy from our bodies. And the more powerful you have that head heart coherence, the further the broadcast goes, the more powerful it is, the more pure it is. You don't want to confuse yourself by thinking one thing and feeling another, because now the
Mm-hmm.
universe just says, well, this dude's a mess. I'm going to wait for him to get straight before I actually give him anything. And you just get the same thing over and over again, right? Because the universe is waiting for you to learn the lesson,
I've
right?
told this story before, but you've heard of the cleaner Formula 409, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know why they
409 different formulas.
Yes, the
Right.
first 408 did not work out the way they wanted, but Formula 409, that's what worked. That
One of the
just
ones I,
shows keep
one of,
trying.
that's right. One of the ones I always use is Edison with the light bulb.
Hmm.
He learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. And a lot of people say, wow, that's a lot of failure. And my thought is, well, what made him go past number two?
Hmm.
Why did he go for another 998 without giving up? Because he knew it could be done. He believed in himself, and he had a vision. He had a purpose. He had a deep why. Why am I doing this? Because I want to change the world, right?
Hmm.
That's powerful when you get into that place of conviction for yourself. You know what you're doing is right, is proper. And when I do this, I also do it, like, not just on your show and on the other guest speaker spots that I have, but I also do it in my social media,
Hmm.
right? And I just give value, give value, give it. It's not about buy my product. It's here's a possible solution to your problem. And then when people say, wait a second, this guy's given me 9 solutions to 9 of my problems, and he even hasn't asked for a penny yet. What else does he have? I want to know more. And
Hmm.
that's where the value comes in, because the more you put out, the bigger it is when it comes back, right?
Hmm.
So I don't push people from a sales perspective. I push out my value so that people realize I might very well have the very thing they need that'll change their lives. Because hey, it worked to change my life, so I
Yeah.
know it'll change yours, right? That's that. I don't have a question there. It just needs to be that place. Just get out of your own way and contact me, and I'll show you how to make something out of your life that you would have when you look back. So part of my exercise in my program is I do a review every 3 months, and I have my students or my clients, whatever you want to call them, go back to their original homework from previous to realize, wait a second, look at the answers I put down there. I've come so far from that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Wow, I've like, I'm can't even imagine what I was thinking back then, but look at, I wrote it down, so I must have been thinking it. That's the power of getting to the next level, because 1% a day is 365% in a year, Kyle.
Right, right.
Right, right. Just got to be a little bit better every day. And not only do you get that much better, but you build as you go,
Oh yeah.
and you solidify your foundation, and you set the example for the people that are watching you. So let's just say, for example, there's a person watching me that hasn't done anything for themselves. And wait a second, 6 months has gone by. Look at that Dean guy or that Kyle guy. Look at how far he's come. But wait a second, I've not gone anywhere. Why is that? That's when they start to draw the comparison and say, wait a second, I need to get on this ride.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing the boat.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh yeah.
It's a matter of choice, too, my friend. Totally a matter of choice.
Well,
Everybody gets to make a choice.
it takes me back to whenever I first started working for the city, and the guy that was in charge of the crew leader, um, I watched him. He knew how to run the equipment. That was one of the things you had to do if you wanted to be a crew leader. You had to know how to run the equipment, not just how to fix pipes and put pipes together and all that kind of stuff. And plus, of course, you have to know how to lead. But I wanted to be just like that. I didn't want to be exactly him, but I wanted to be able to do what he did.
Yep.
So I just asked him one day, "Hey, can you show me how to run that backhoe?" And of course, in the beginning, I sucked at it, but
Of course.
I was persistent, and I kept trying and I kept trying, and then it got to the point where I don't even have to think about it when I get on a machine. I just get up there and I'm able to do whatever I need to do.
Exactly.
And I got good at it. I became a crew leader, and then that, of course, led to being a foreman. But one thing I always remember too is somebody else needs to learn how to do what I do so they can move into my position before I can move up.
Yeah,
So don't keep that to yourself. You
that's
help
right.
others and
Right.
you're actually helping yourself.
I'm going to take that a little bit further, my friend. I used to work, and of course, so did you, but used to work on a commercial rotogravure printing press.
Hmm.
And out of the 10 top hazards in a job, 7 of them were present where I worked. So there was a 70% chance that you would lose a digit or your life
Yeah,
at
that's
any point in
city
time,
work too.
right? So the whole thing is we got to know what we're doing. We got to do it right. But we also got to be able to teach the next person that's coming up behind us the same thing. And what I saw when I was in the industry, we were making Sears catalogs at the time. So that tells you how long ago that was.
You still love those things.
Oh, yes, indeed. And I loved it. But
The toy
the tech,
section.
that's right. And for me, it was, I always saw the leaders when I first started out as an apprentice, watch these leaders come down and give someone a hard time because they didn't do such and such right. They missed this and this. Meanwhile, the person did lots of things right, but they only did one thing wrong. And that was what the guy focused on. Now, I've come to learn as a holistic life coach that we need to focus on our strengths,
Yes.
okay? Not our weaknesses. Yes, we have weaknesses, but that's not what makes us better. Building our strengths is what makes us better. So I chose that I wanted to be a leader because I didn't want to put up with the a-hole in charge. I wanted to be the a-hole in charge, so to speak, right? So that I could actually define what being in charge meant. So being in a place of danger on a regular basis, it was my habit to make sure that when I learned or saw something that someone else needed to learn, I would stop the workflow if possible, especially if the press was down, and I would bring the whole crew over. And I would say, I just realized that you guys don't know how to do this. So, for the very simple fact that I don't need you to call me away from what I'm doing for me to do this for you because you don't know how, I need you to know how so you don't need to call me away from what I'm doing.
Right.
And I would make a point of showing them, okay, this is how it works, this is how it has to happen. And many of the times I was showing people the next level from their place that they didn't necessarily need or want to know, but it made it better for them to understand the why of what they were doing to make what they were doing better for the next level, which is what I was showing them.
Right.
They always appreciated it, and I always gave time for question and answers. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any pointers? Does anybody have anything they want to say before I would break off the crew training? And I had invariably had two things happen because of that. I had a deep level of respect for my crew
Mm-hmm.
because they knew that if there was anything they needed to know, I would teach them, and I would teach them to my best ability. And second of all, they were more confident in what they had to do because they knew why they were doing it,
Oh, exactly.
right?
You know, it's not a coincidence that the people that I worked with that were crew leaders as well, they were so afraid that somebody was going to take their job away from them. They never wanted to teach them.
Right?
And lo and behold, they stayed in the same position. They never moved up because they never wanted to teach anybody.
That's right. And did they ever get any respect from that?
No, of
No.
course
Did
not.
they? Do they ever learn the next level?
No. And
No.
you know, I'm gonna brag on myself a little bit. You know,
Go for it.
I tried to do everything I could to teach people everything I knew. And of course, I wasn't afraid to learn from them as well. They saw an easier way to do it, then we would do it that way.
Right.
And you know, I wanted them to know that we were a team.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, because of that, when I moved up, there was nothing that I could say to go do that they wouldn't go do.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
they
Or
knew
know
I
how to do.
exactly. They knew how to do it, and they if things got tough, you know, there was times where the summers were so hot that it wouldn't rain and the ground was cracking, so the pipes were cracking. We had guys working sometimes 16 hours a day to try to catch up with all this, and they stayed at it. And I actually put on my boots and got out there and helped do it too,
That's right.
because you know, they if they see that I was willing to get out there and work hard, they were willing to get out there and work hard.
That's right.
Because of that, we made it through that summer. They got caught up with all the work, and I couldn't tell them enough how much I appreciated them.
That's right. And they would have told you the same thing, how much they appreciated you, because a lot of people perceive that as he's too good for such and such. He's not going to help us. He's the boss, right? But the thing is that as a boss, as a leader, if you're not willing to do what you're asking your people to do, then you're not a leader. You're a
Hmm.
dictator,
Exactly.
right? You need to
Exactly.
get down in the trenches. You need to be willing to help. You need to be willing to know what it is you're asking the people to do.
Hmm.
Or what are you, how can you help them? How can you teach them? If you don't know what you're asking people to do, how in the world can you teach it? Right? So it's a
That's
powerful
right.
thing. It makes for a stronger you as a leader. It makes for a stronger team, and it makes for a safer environment for everybody because everybody
Mhm.
knows what needs to be done. Everybody knows how to move to the next level or step out of what they normally do to do that next thing because they simply know how to do it and know what needs to be done. They know the why, they know the how. Everything flows better, right?
Good. And
Powerful.
what another thing I guess I'll brag on myself a little bit about. It just came natural that if one of my guys made a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
I made sure that they knew what they were doing right. And here's this one thing you're doing wrong. Let's just fix it,
Yep.
and not just harp on that one thing you did wrong.
Right.
That just it breaks a person down,
Yep.
because then you feel
100%.
like you just can't be good enough, that you have to be perfect all the time, and you just can't be perfect all the time. There's
Nope.
no way.
And the thing is that when that person is being shown that part of their weakness, it could well be a weakness. They are, if you're encouraging them, like you said, show them what they've done right, show them everything they've done well, and just get them to realize that, wait a second, you just left that part just a bit shy of acceptable because of, not because you're not good, but because this is what it needs to be acceptable. And if maybe you just need to think of it a different way, maybe you need to develop a different strength, maybe you need to just be willing to ask for help when it comes to that part.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't be shy. I mean, one of the things that is wrong with society today, as far as dads go, professional dads like you and I, is we were never taught how to ask for help.
Yeah.
We were always told how to do it ourselves, and you're a pussy if you're asking for help. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's not true. That is not true. You're a fool if you don't ask for help. And I don't mind saying that. And if that upsets anybody, then you just need to look in the mirror, because you know I'm right.
Yeah.
Right? Ask for help, because there is going to be something you can't do. There is, and when I say can't do, it's because you're not familiar with getting it right, or you haven't chosen to step into that level. There's going to be stuff that you're not sure what to do. Don't beat yourself up because you don't know how to do it. Have some courage to ask someone that you know can do it and say,
That's
hey,
right.
man, I need some help with this. I've never done it before, or I've done it wrong a couple of times, or I've watched YouTube videos for 4 hours and I can't find the answer that actually applies to what I'm trying to do here. Help me. And the person will say, yeah, I've looked for the YouTube video for that for far more than 4 hours, brother. And I know the answer ain't there, but I did figure out the answer, and here it is. And that's when you realize, well, holy moly, it's not me because I don't know how to research YouTube. It's YouTube because it doesn't have the answer.
Exactly.
Right? So I had the courage to ask, and that was that was what changed everything. Right? And when
Oh
you
yeah.
have that takes powerful strength and courage to put your fears aside, and allow yourself to realize that, wait a second, I don't know how to do this, either at all or simply well. I need help.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guarantee you that brain surgeon that got somebody's head wide open and bumps into something, they're not going to keep going ahead the wrong way. They're going to say, wait a second, I'm missing something here. Who can help me? Right? Because trust me, that's got to be done right.
Yeah.
And those guys know that they need help on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And those are the successful people in the world. Right? You mentioned a bass player that you had on your show a little while ago. Do you really think he got where he was going by not being willing to ask for how to get to the next level?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
Well, and we all know that there's no exact formula on raising kids.
no.
Kids are there's all kinds of differences when it comes to children. Both of my boys were gay, or should I say they are gay. And so here I am, a single father, and I'm raising these boys by myself. And they felt comfortable enough to come to me and to let me know this is the way they are.
Yep.
And so I had to learn, different things. How to be they were in dance, so they were called the Chatos, and so I was the Chato dad because I was the only dad that was, the single father that was out there doing all that stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know um they had to have all these clothes and shoes and things, and I didn't know what to do. Had a barbecue, raised money that way. Had to have money for them to go to their competitions and all that stuff. And so, and then I had to learn how to deal with them in an emotional way.
Yeah.
Both the boys, one was very strong-willed, the other one was kind of shy and reserved, and so I had to treat them a little bit different that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no exact formula when it comes to kids. You kind of learn along the way.
Well, you mentioned something very, very interesting, Kyle, because society says you've got to raise your kids. And that means most of the time that you're going to force them to be a version, a clone of you. That
Hmm.
doesn't work. My
No.
dad tried to do that with me, and it led me drove me to attempted suicide.
Yeah.
He never tried to cultivate me. He tried to teach me what he felt I should do, not what I felt I should do.
Yeah.
He never supported me. I played many different sports. He showed up to one game out of how many scores of games
You're
that I would
lucky.
have.
My dad
Right?
didn't show up to one,
There you go. But well, and
not
there's the
even my
point that I'm making.
graduation.
There you go. Same here. And that's the point that I'm trying to make is we are here as dads. We need to cultivate our children. When you say cultivate, that means like look at it from a garden perspective. You're growing tomatoes, you're growing onions, you're growing peppers, you're growing trees, you're growing shrubs, you're growing flowers. Do you try to make a flower grow like a tree? Do you try to make a tomato grow like a pepper? No,
Exactly.
everything has its own characteristics. You've got to support those characteristics and help them be the best of what they are,
Yeah.
not what you want them to be,
Well,
right?
I'd be lying if I had said that I didn't want them to play football or, or something like that. Of course, which dad do you know that doesn't dream of their son becoming the star of the football team or the basketball team or baseball team, whatever? No, they wanted to be dancers, and I'm, I'm gonna tell you what, I cried at one of them because they dance so well. I'm not afraid to say that. Yeah, I had tears coming out of my eyes because I was so proud.
There you go. There you
So
go.
yeah, you can't treat all kids the same way. It's just
No, no.
impossible.
And there's another way to look at this too, is that lots of professional sports people are not necessarily heterosexual
Right.
and they're damn good at whatever sport they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Did being not heterosexual make a difference? No, not as far as their profession was concerned. Anybody can do anything well,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I have many good friends, fellow coaches that are not heterosexual. It don't matter a damn to me. I don't care if you're a lady with a lady or a man with a man.
Yeah.
It doesn't change how I feel about you or how I respect your skills. I watch what you do and you're damn good at what you do. That's all that counts, right?
It's the
Who you
character.
are is your choice. It's the character, right? And
Mm-hmm.
why in the world would I deny myself your skills in my world simply because I don't like it? Well, what in the world makes you say you shouldn't like it? That's a matter of social pressure that is not, that's judgment. There's no love there, right? There's
Exactly.
pure love does not hold judgment and certainly doesn't hold punishment, my friend. And this is part of what I had to learn in order to help teach myself how to be able to be willing to help other people grow to their best. Because if I was always going up to a person and saying, you need to do this, you should do that, blah, 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 based on what I thought the way that I thought they should do it, that's wrong. Now, will I support a person in following a program that I know will help them get to the next level? Absolutely. Will I tell them how to do it? Absolutely not. I know that they need to do the work to get the results, but how they do the work and the results they want, that's their choice. Just be your best is the point, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's all I hope for in any of my clients or any of my students or any of the people that I teach. I help people for free, and the point remains that I'm not doing that because I want to define them based on my ideas. I'm doing that because I know they need the help. They've asked me for the help and they said, look, man, I can't pay you, but it's going to make a huge difference for me because I'm just starting my business and I really need the help. Am I going to be arrogant and say, well, dude, because you can't afford my rates, I'm not going to help you? No,
Mm.
no. On top of that, maybe it is such that you and I don't resonate. Maybe my skill set or my ability to teach isn't going to work for you, but guess what? I know someone that will be able to help you. And if I recommend you to them, they will say, oh, I know Dean. I love Dean. Guess what? I'm going to help this person because I've inspired that in many other people where they'll say, you know what? I normally charge 10,000 or 15,000 or whatever the case may be. I know a lot of high priced individual professionals that are willing to help. Now, are they going to put you through the whole program for free? No. But are they going to take some time and help you get over that bump and get to that next level? They sure are.
Yeah.
They sure are.
Well, I don't mind, passing the torch to someone else if it's going to be a better fit.
Right?
I try to help folks in any way that I can, and I'm by no means a professional or anything, but I try to do whatever it is that I can to convey the right message. And if I can't get that through to you or we don't click, I will find somebody.
That's right.
That's the way it
That's right.
should be.
That's the way it should be. In today's day and age, after what we've gone through in 2020 and now well into 2021,
Mm-hmm.
we need to work together, my friend. Being
Yes.
isolated and being like super individual, where you're refusing to, like, you're tightening everything up and you're not letting yourself be more. That's harming society in general. We need to reach out to other people. We need to give, and we need to connect. And you and I wouldn't be talking right now if we didn't believe that,
Yeah.
right?
Well, there's so much isolation going on where, the government wants us to be social distanced and, wearing the masks and all that. I get the reasoning behind it, but it's to the point where people just don't even want to be close to each other anymore.
Yep.
And then you're isolated at home if you're in the lockdown and you're stuck there. And there's a lot of individuals that live alone, and
Yeah.
that's isolation enough. But now you're saying you can't mix and mingle with people at all. Just think of the mental state that they're in.
Yeah, it's not helping. And the one size fits all is very dangerous, because it doesn't, there's no such thing as one mask for everybody. There's no such thing as one protocol for everybody. Everybody's an individual. That's what makes us human,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And the thing is, we've lived with viruses for how many thousands of years?
Yeah.
This is just another virus. Yes, it's a dangerous one. Yes, it has some higher numbers than what we're accustomed to. But is it going to decimate society in a zombie apocalypse? No, no, it's not. And is it going to be something that our bodies, our metabolisms are going to become able to handle? Yes, it is. The percentages prove of the mortality rate, the survival rate, the duration of sickness, all that stuff has proven that we can do this as individuals from a human perspective without being forced to go through these lockdowns and so on and so forth. We don't want to get into a big discussion about it, but
No.
the truth of it is that we have the power as human beings to get to that next level without being forced to do it and or how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the power that we all have.
Well, like I say, there's all kinds of things out there that it keeps you from interacting with other people.
Yeah.
When I go to the store, they have those self checkout lines.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, I hate those things. I would rather go spend an extra 15 minutes in line so I can talk to the person that's, checking the cashier
Yep.
that's checking your groceries or whatever, because I like meeting people. I like
Yep.
talking with people.
That's right. That's right.
I love, and people, please get out there. And if you don't know your neighbors, get out there and meet them.
Yep. 100%.
It's important to know who your neighbors are, and that you might have somebody that's watching your back for you, and you can watch their back.
And I would like to speak to that for a moment, because my friend, when I first moved to this neighborhood, there was an elderly lady across the street who, for whatever reason, had this perception that I was someone that she needed to avoid and not speak to and possibly hate. And for what, 7 years, she wouldn't respond to me and so on and so forth. But I was, of course, as time goes on, we get to know most of our neighbors. And one of our neighbors, that is his friend, her friend, excuse me, was someone I was talking to when she showed up, and she like was very like mean to me. And later on, he said, "Why are you being like that? That guy's okay." So she gave me some opportunity to communicate with her the next time. She said hi, and then we had an opportunity to speak. She actually accepted my phone number as a protector in case she has trouble at home if she falls, because I'm only 2 houses away.
Yeah,
And all that time, she avoided having that opportunity. Now I'm someone she can reach out to for help.
that's awesome.
And this is the point. This is directly to the point that you said, right? And that's the
Mhm.
proof of it right there. That's the proof of it right there, my friend.
Done.
So
There's people out there that their lives are interesting, which is why I have this show, because I love to bring people on and let them tell about themselves. They don't have to be famous. Just everybody has a story to tell. The last place that we lived at, we got to know our neighbors, and the guy was a drummer, and he
oh yeah.
actually went on tour with Flotsam and Jetsam, and I was like,
Wow.
no way. So you never know.
Yeah,
Get out and meet people.
that's right.
And
100%.
you have an interesting story to tell. You might not think so, but tell about those accomplishments that you've had in your life. Tell them about the trips that you've made. get to know each other.
Yeah,
Stop
100%.
the separation when we
Oh,
need to be friends.
well, human nature is to be connected in communication. That's our nature, right? To be, because it's been proven that we are so much as one, but we're so much more as a team, as a group, as a pair, whatever the case may be. I mean, marriage is a perfect example. I mean, so what if you're marrying another guy as a guy? It doesn't matter. You're still making yourself, you're developing a relationship with a partner. You're building a life. You're building a community, right? It doesn't matter how you do it. It just matters that you do it.
Right. Well, I've told my sons, if you're going to get married, then you be loyal to that person. You don't go around messing around with other folks. You be loyal. I don't care if you marry another guy. That's wonderful. You do what you do. You.
Yeah. You found someone.
You found someone, then you make that relationship work. You do
That's right.
be the best that you can
That's
at
right.
that relationship. That's the only thing I ask of you.
That's right. I mean, you mentioned that, and one of the things that many people don't know is in my private group, I have some mentors, and those mentors are amazing people, and they're both homosexuals. Do we advertise it? No. Does everybody need to know that? No. Do I know that? Of course, I knew that before I had invited them to be mentors. Why did I invite them to be mentors in my private group? Because they were the best ones for the job,
That's what matters. That's all that matters.
right?
And
Good
if
characters.
anybody's out there and you have a problem with people because of their color or because of their religion or because of their sexual preferences, then they're not those people aren't the ones that have a problem. You're the one that has a problem.
That's right.
You need to get your life right. We've all got our prejudices,
That's
all
right.
of us,
Yep.
but judge a person by their character, not what's on the outside.
That's right. That's right. Now, I find that the worst thing we can do, no offense to what you just said, Kyle, is to actually judge someone, because when you do that, you put them in a box, and you leave out the possibility of the most pure of love.
Hmm.
And a lot of people will say, I don't like that guy at work because of that, judging them, putting them in the box because they don't like the way they talk, they don't like the way they treat other people. But guess what? That person has lovable characteristics.
Hmm.
And when
That's
you
right.
when you give them that tight, firm judgment, you kind of lock away the potential for you to learn those, to give yourself permission to get to know them. And I've been through this a few times where I've had people that were very unpersonable at former jobs, and I would just keep saying, "Hey, how are you? Good to see you today." And they go, "Rah, rah, rah," and carry on. "Hey, good to see you today," and so, rah, 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 and carry on. And this
uh,
would go on for months,
met those kind of people.
and in many cases, years. And every person, after a certain amount of time, because I didn't stop being nice to them or helping them when they were in a spot, like for example, if they were trying to get through the door with a handful of stuff, I would go and help them at the door. Meanwhile, everybody else would go to the other door and let them struggle. Eventually, they realized, wait a second, this person's worth getting to know. And they would come to me and they would say, "Hey, how come you've been so nice to me for so long?" And I said, "Because you're a person."
Yeah. Well, that's
You,
another thing. I
right?
saw a wonderful story on YouTube the other day.
Uh-huh.
And, granted, this was somebody had made this up, but this could happen.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, this girl got into gaming and she got good at it. She became one of those streamers, and so she started making money off of it. And, she was doing really, really
Beautiful.
well.
Beautiful.
But there was a boy that would tease her and bully her all the time, just like, oh, you're really not that good and blah 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 blah. And they decided to follow this boy, even though he would been bullying, they were going to follow him and find out what he was all about. And then come to find out that him and his mother were going through struggles. They were about to get kicked out of their home. And so this girl had all this extra money. So she went and paid the rent for this family. And when the boy found that out, all of a sudden they became good friends. So
Right.
you could miss out on something
That's right.
if you don't give somebody a chance.
That's right. 100%, my friend. And that was a big lesson for me a long, long time ago, uh, and in many times since then, because it's true. you don't know what the other person is going through. If the
Mhm.
person's being harsh, then something harsh is going on in their lives,
Usually, yeah.
right? And they're I mean, that's why I was harsh and manipulative and mean, was because of the stuff that I'd been through. And
Mhm.
and a lot of people, I found it hard to talk about. So because actually very few people ever asked me, and I wasn't about to volunteer it. But once I came to that place where I accepted it as who I am and what created me to be who I am, I wouldn't change any of it for anything.
Yeah.
One of my mentors asked, if you were able to go back in time and change something about your life, what would you do? Where would you go and what would you change? And I said to him, I said, man, that's ironic that you'd ask me that question, because I would not go back and change anything, because as soon as I do that, I stop being who I am now. And if I stop being who I am now, I can't help people like I do now, right? Because I won't
Right.
have that experience. If I get rid of that massive trauma, right? I mean, there was a suppressed memory that had me go blind when the psychiatrist was actually able for me to reconnect with that memory. I literally went blind in the chair. It felt like I was falling through space. And when I started like crying because I said, I just went blind. I can't see you. I can't hear you. She put her hand out and grabbed my hand. And I grabbed her hand so hard, like, because I thought I was falling from through the floor, that I almost broke her hand.
Oh my goodness.
And she was like, she just put up with the pain until I like came through, and it was about 5 minutes or so. And then I was able to, like, my mind was able to connect back to who I am, and my vision came back. And she was like red in the face and holding my hand, going, "You're killing me." And I'm going, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She goes, "I can't believe that just happened to you." And because she'd never had that happen to any of her patients before. But I'm also the only patient that ever thanked her for what she did. I'm the only patient that ever sent her a card, a thank you card. I'm the only patient that ever reached out afterwards, because she literally saved my life. Not
Wow.
just by helping me when I thought I had gone blind, but also helped me uncover that suppressed memory. And that suppressed memory was when I was 3 and my mother had left. And I went into the basement of this dugout hotel and hid behind an old abandoned furnace with different rat carcasses around me, rocking back and forth. They looked for me for quite some time. They didn't know where I was, and I was crying as a 3-year old, saying, "Why did you leave, mommy? What did I do?"
Mm.
And I suppressed that memory until I was in my 30s and had caused myself a breakup in my first marriage, and went to psychiatrist for help. And that's, I don't normally think of that, and it's not often that I share that, but it's part of who I am, right?
I want to make two more points, and
Yep,
then I'm gonna let you finish the show off. I want
yep,
you to kind of delve a little bit into exactly what you do. Make it probably be brief, but
yep.
make it to the point. And then we want to know how we can get in contact with you. But you were talking about the therapy session that you had done. I got I have a friend of mine that she does past life regressions,
Nice.
and I'm gonna tell you, you can believe in this or not believe in it, but whatever happened to me, it changed my life because it made me go back and relive someone else's life, but realize how similar our lives were because
Hmm.
I'm supposed to be that person at another time.
Yep,
And like I said, whether it was a hypnotic suggestion or whatever, I don't care. It worked.
yep.
So I recommend it. My second point is that I'm very transparent on this show for a reason. You know, I don't have to tell you about, I have kids that are gay. I don't have to tell you about, my suicidal thoughts and the depression, the PTSD, the anxiety. I choose to share this because somebody out there is dealing with the same thing
That's right.
and you may not know what to do.
That's right.
And you've got people like Dean Brown here that could help you. If not him, somebody can help you.
100%.
And please don't let it go too far. Your life has meaning. It took me almost losing my life several times to realize that I have meaning.
Yes, brother.
Even if it's just to help one person, even if it's just one person,
Just one.
I've accomplished something.
That's right.
But get the help that you need.
That's right.
So anyway, I'm going to let you in the show. Just kind of give a summary of what you do
Absolutely,
and
brother.
how we can get in contact with you.
Well, what you were just saying there about having people need help because they don't know how to get past the challenges they face. That's what I do. I'm a holistic life coach. I work with mind, body, spirit. I help professional dads. I help them earn more, work less, and have more fun while doing it. I want to see them go home to a warm plate of food and a warm shoulder rather than a cold plate of food and a cold shoulder. I want to see them get to that place where they're not being held back by anxiety, fears, stress, anger, hate. I want them to get to that place where they ask for the help that I can give them, or they ask me to find some help that they can't find for themselves in case it's not me that helps them. And I do that with a coaching program that is based on years of research that is very successful, very progressive, very, very transformative. And I also use the law of attraction as I do that. And you can reach me through my website at www.mypersonalreality.ca. And that's the best place that you can just go there and absolutely reach out to me. If you want to send me an email, it's coachdean@mypersonalreality.ca. And I've sent a bunch of links and stuff to Kyle to put in his show notes. I'm just
I
going to
will.
review that email to make sure that you do have all those links, Kyle.
And I will
And
do that.
yeah, and you put those in the show notes for me. There's a link tree link there that gives you everything you need to do to connect with me. I do podcasts like you do, Kyle. So I get on, have people on my show and have them be themselves and help the community. And of course, I just want to help. I want to help you build your life to the greatest, build your business to the greatest, and just help one soul at a time change the world doing it.
It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your color. It doesn't matter what church you go to. Everybody needs help. Please seek that help out, whether it's, like we said, through Dean or someone else. At the end of the day, we want to see you go home.
That's right, 100%. And we want to see you get better and stronger and happier and help other people do the same. Trust me, when you help someone else get through this, you'll realize that you are so powerful and so valuable.
This means a lot to me because, we, like we discussed before the show, we have so many things in common. We went through a lot of the same things. And I know there's somebody out there that's having problems as well.
100%.
So it's near and dear to me. I want to be able to help you. And if that's getting you in touch with someone like Mr. Brown or anyone else, I want to be there for you. I provide our email in the description, our social media, so you can get a hold of me that way. I will definitely put up Dean's website and his other links, so you'll be able to get in touch with him. And you don't have to listen to me, but there's somebody out there that can help you. Please get that help.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Kyle. You're awesome. I really, really value the time that we spent together.
Thank you.
My brother from another mother.
That's right. Well, we're going to end the show with that. And once again, we will have those links up so you can get in touch with him. And I'll make it so easy. All you got to do is click on it and you can go straight to it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And I appreciate your time. I want to thank y'all for reaching out to me. This, like I said, means a lot. It's near and dear to my heart. I will say that a million times. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Back at you, brother. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me here.
And thank everyone who supports the show, whether that's just watching our videos, but we do ask that you would subscribe to the channel, like these videos, comment on them. If I'm doing something wrong, you see I can improve in something, hey, let me know. I'll be glad to take whatever suggestions you may have. And if I'm doing something right, please let me know that too. I'll build up my ego a little bit and share this out, because even if it's not you that needs this advice, somebody does. So
That's right.
share it out.
That's right.
Appreciate it. And until the next one. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. because it's only through your support that we're able to continue doing the things that we do. And until the next one, have a great, great day.